mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family. It's your mom and dad. It's your mother and father. Evan, ask me, my love, ask me where I was.
What?
Ask me where I was.
Where were you?
Well, I, threw back a handle of Jack.
Okay.
Did a couple extra shots.
Okay.
And then I got a little curious and I wandered my way into this building. Happened to be a sleep test. And I thought, maybe, am I feeling a little drunky? Sure. But I'm just going to wander my way into a sleep test and just see what happens.
Right.
I'm sure they'd let me do it. They wouldn't test me beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't do anything like that before. I just thought I'd wander.
They said we're looking for drunk guys to do sleep tests.
Yeah, 100%. They were like, hey, we're looking for a couple of drunk individuals. Because what we're doing is we're testing the difference between what it's like when you're sleeping sober versus when you're sleeping drunk. That's the obvious answer of that's what I was doing last night. I wasn't with another person.
No. I think my biggest beef is they didn't address why the sleep test. You know what I mean? Like, was it an apnea problem? Was it for money?
You know
what I mean? Like,
number one,
why was he doing a sleep test? Like, they just kind of just said, like, you said you were at a sleep test last night. Like, that's a normal thing people do, like, on a Tuesday. Like, I'm so confused. It wasn't like, you said you were at Jerry's house last night working on your project. It wasn't, hey, you said you were at your mom's house. It's, you said you were at a sleep test. It's like, whoa, whole part, like, let's talk about the sleep test first.
Well, first of all, the foundation is that Steven's sleep test had to have been for money. But part two is that it's an absolute lie. There was no sleep test, obviously. This man...
I will say it's a pretty diabolical lie. You know what I mean? It's like I was working on
I was studying the bar
test, a physics experiment to split the atom and to change the time continuum. And they said I needed the whole night to do it, and I could not have my phone with me, unfortunately.
It's a diabolical lie. Think about this.
Yeah, it's like sleep test is a great way to be like, I couldn't text you back.
Because listen, last year, what did we have? We had Jeremy, who didn't have an excuse why he showed up at 4 a.m. when he went out to the bars.
He should have done the sleep test thing.
Steven was like, how will Monica not question when I'm gone all night?
Yeah.
Sleep test.
Sleep test is
so
a good one.
there was no sleep test, obviously. This man, you know what? During the reunion, number one, I want all of the text messages. I need all these dirty text messages, but I also need the receipts of the sleep test.
That's what I was going to say. No, I don't want. I want the results. I'm like, how's he sleeping? I want to know. Like, what are the issues?
How is this absolute liar sleeping at night?
How is he sleeping? Is it high guilt? Is there a high guilt meter? He's definitely horny.
The thing that's true about Steven is that if he were to do a sleep test, even through all of his lies and his betrayal, that guy sleeps like a rock. He sleeps the way he exited when Monica was like, you did all these things, the way he just went, yep, you're right. I'll see my way out. This guy has no remorse. Same way that he has no remorse for the fact that he had previously cheated before in the DMs and was like, it's been therapy, and he went right back to it. The man started sexting 2 days after coming home from Mexico. 2 days, family.
Like you've been engaged for like 5.
You've been engaged for 5 minutes, legitimately. And you've been home for like less than 48 hours and you have to make up a lie to do a sleep test. And then also you're just like, oh my God.
The strange thing about him, though, is that he does these things that I have 2 questions, but the first one is that he does these things that like incriminate him.
Constantly.
Right. So he's such a blabbermouth that he like incriminates himself.
Yeah.
So like, for example, in the pods, him telling this girl that he's going on dates with that he got caught cheating on the DM.
Yes.
It's like, why say that? First of all, it's just kind of a gnarly like thing to bring up early on in a relationship. if you're a liar. You know what I mean? So like if you're a liar, it's like, why bring that up? So now you're already just creating like, now she's on the alert.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So now it's like, check the phone.
Of course, because you're like, this guy has a history. He's got habits.
Yeah. And then there's just like multiple times throughout where you're like, you're kind of just constantly incriminating yourself so that the person is on edge and is kind of looking for these things. So when you do the things, you can't hide it.
I think
it's such a strange.
I think there's a combination. I think number one, he is so obsessed with sex. And number two, I think that when you get to a sleep test level lie, you're approaching this in layers.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to, in his brain probably, she's going to be less likely to question my behavior if I am open enough with her.
Yeah.
Honest to God, it's like so many of the books that I read, you know, the villain in the books, it's like, what do? They give a little bit of truth. Because then the person doesn't doubt them as much. They relax because it's like, oh, they're being a little honest with me. So I feel like he's giving these little truths.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, oh, she's not nearly a suspect of me. But also I think he can't shut up either. The man just never stops talking and just talks and talks and talks. And so eventually it gets down to the history of it all.
But I gotta say, like, if he wasn't for him constantly kind of ratting himself out with just his weird comments, and we'll get into those later, but like, you know, all the weird shit he says, like, you would never see that coming, I guess.
That's why
like, you don't see him cheating on her day 5. Like, he kind of seemed like a guy who's like, I can't believe I got her. He seems a little bit like lucky to be there. He seems a little like bumbly and sweet, kind of like the big giant.
Yeah.
Who's just like, who, me? Like, not the most intelligent guy in the world, but just kind of sweet, and you kind of love him because he's lovable. Like, I will say, if it wasn't for him talking about those specific events or things
leading up to it,
I will say, like, I would have been totally fooled too. Like, he's not a guy that to me hits as slimy or salesy or like slick.
But this is the true diabolic.
He was like, he got home and he's like, yeah, I got home, and I'm like, do I still have a job? And he's like, no. He's like, so I'll figure it out. Like, he doesn't have this like slick thing.
But I'm gonna tell you
him.
this right now. I think he knew he was fired beforehand. Now, looking at it, I go, there's no way Steven went to that job and found out he got fired then after being gone for numerous weeks. He left with no job. I can almost promise you this man left with no job, drove his ass to Coffee Bean, waited there for 2 hours, and then came back and was like, yeah, they fired me.
Yeah.
So
it's
sorry.
Interesting. It's interesting. I just would have never, if I'm just being honest with you, like I didn't, if it wasn't for the incriminating, we'd always be on edge because of the incriminating things he would say, but without those couple clues, like, I just would have never thought he was the guy.
No, I
like,
didn't think he was going to be this guy, but I will tell you, I started to think he was going to be this guy at the top of episode 7, when all of a sudden we have all the DM conversations about
that
like,
was a real,
well, you know, there's going to be people sliding into your DMs. And then when he was relentlessly bringing up the most the way that he was talking to her about like the way that a woman like doesn't know what she wants.
Yeah, right. It was getting real weird.
It was getting so like just drippy with kind of like misogynist,
just like frat house.
Yeah.
Creep energy.
But I have to say, we did smell it at the top where we were like, he's giving Joe Rogan disciple, and you were saying, what do his conversations look like when he's on the golf course with his buddies, not in front of Monica?
Well, yeah, there's no question.
That energy was festering.
But I feel like I know a ton of guys that like over the years that are like the guys that like are like, oh, my girlfriend's, you know, busting my balls. Like there's a lot of guys like that, but it doesn't mean they're like slimy cheaters. It means they're just kind of like, rah, rah. But like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I just thought he was like one of those guys, like a sports guy that's just sitting in the locker room going, oh, my wife, you know, but not like a guy who's got like
within 24 hours gonna go.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was crazy. Like, insane.
Okay,
insane.
Well, obviously, if you don't know by the title, we're talking about Steven and Monica from Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Today we are going over episodes 7, 8, and 9. Holy smokes, these episodes.
It's just like left turn city, dude.
And I feel pretty validated in certain things, by the way. And I said last episode when we covered the first 6, I said, I feel like none of these relationships are going to work except for one. I said, I think there'll be one wedding. And I feel pretty confident in my assessment. I think I kind
Yeah,
of nailed
a lot
it.
on ice,
I'm
except
not,
for one.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I kind
I
of
think
nailed
you
it.
did too.
I'm like, these are all gonna crumble. And my God, in episode 7, 8, and 9, we found out the audacity of men,
Yeah.
lies, deceit. It was.
This was actually not. It was a fantasy novel. It wasn't even 3 episodes of Love Is Blind. It was a fantasy.
It was
novel.
so much. So we are going to cover those episodes today. And since we're talking Steven and Monica, I say we just dive into Steven and
Absolutely.
Monica. I do want to dive in more
some of the
with
details,
them
yes,
because there
yes.
were so many things that we
There were some
have to cover.
Great moments.
But
wild.
after that, let's go couple by couple and we'll talk more just about like in general
Yeah, the
our
vibes.
thoughts about where they're at and our energy from them in these last couple episodes. Sound good? Okay, before we keep going into the Steven and Monica of it all, let's take a quick pause. Family, so during these recent Love is Blind episodes, a lot of the couples show each other their homes, their kitchens, their bathrooms, and their closets. And let me tell you, if you open my closet, you would see a lot of items from Quince, okay? I love Quince so much, and now that fall is in the air, I'm even more thrilled because I've been dreaming of my sweaters from Quince. So gorgeous, so luxurious, so quality, so comfortable. Quince is known for their cashmere sweaters from $50, and it's not just that. All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. It's incredible.
Yeah, that includes beautiful leather jackets, the cotton cardigans, soft denim, and so much more. How are they able to do that? Well, it's by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, which passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices. And of course, premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece.
I'm telling you all, Quince is like my dream come true. Just absolute chic, gorgeous wardrobe pieces for unbelievable prices. Needless to say, when I discovered Quince, I lost my mind in the best way possible, okay? Their cashmere sweaters are an absolute favorite of mine and so comfortable. My other obsession is their European linen pants. The cut is perfect. They're so comfortable and they just elevate every outfit I pair them with. I love them so much. I'm telling you, you got to go on Quince's website. They have it all for women, men, kids, jewelry, bedding, and so much more. And by the way, Quince is honestly the perfect place to get some of your holiday shopping done. I will definitely be making purchases from Quince for my sister, my dad, my mom. They're going to be thrilled because everything from Quince is so gorgeous. And maybe I'll do a little holiday shopping for myself from Quince. Give myself a little gifty, okay? So get cozy in Quince's high quality wardrobe essentials. Go to quince.com/momdad for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/momdad to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/momdad. Okay, so we start off episode 7, excuse me, while we are still in Mexico. So let's talk Steven and Monica in Mexico. I feel like that was kind of the one couple that there was more juice about in Mexico, where the table started to turn. And it shifted when Monica let Steven know that it's been bothering her that he was saying in the pods that he would like be giving her flowers.
The
and
classic
gifts.
selling yourself on the guy you are and then reality hits.
Exactly.
Sure.
And Steven said something that when I tell you I laughed, like cry laughed, he's like, well, when I brought up bringing you flowers,
that was great.
it was more of a concept.
You know,
like
he failed to say like when you give someone their flowers, it's like you're giving them credit for all their hard work they've been doing, or giving
That's
them.
more what I meant when
more
I
like
said,
I'm going to give you your flowers in life. You know
and
what
when
I mean?
I said giving you flowers, I mean more of like a hypothetical, like, we'll live together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Give you your flowers as in like, I'll open the door for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll give you your flowers as in like bare minimum of existing.
But I did like his argument though, where he just kind of gets into like I don't even get flowers. You know what I mean? That's a great one.
Oh.
That's a great one. He just goes, listen, I don't even understand. Like, why do you even like I mean, they're gonna die soon. Like, you just put them in a thing, and then like 3 days later you get rid of them. Like, what's the whole deal with flowers anyway? Like, it was really funny for him to kind of like go, I hear what you're saying. I did drop the ball there, but like, let's actually get into like what flowers actually are. And like, I'm not seeing the point here.
That's the definition of Steven, Evan.
Yeah.
The definition of Steven is, yeah, I hear you're right. But let's get into that. flowers are purposeless.
Yeah.
You know this guy will debate you loosely about every single thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, just
We won't shut the fuck up.
just
That's the issue. It's like,
functioning-
shut up.
just functioning on a daily basis where,
But he's
you know,
not very smart. So it's like, it's a frustrating thing too, where it's like, he argues about everything, but it's like, he's not very smart. So it's like brutal argument. It's not like you're getting picked apart by someone who's like, you know,
It's like
Taylor or
Taylor,
Garrett,
yeah.
where you're like, okay, they can mess you
Yeah,
up.
where
but
I'm like, I
it's
don't
like,
even
he's
know.
the kind of guy that goes, what's the deal with flowers anyway? And you're like, you idiot. But one thing I will say that was really funny though, that I just thought was a really like funny moment that made me laugh out loud, was the whole like Kate Spade purse thing.
oh my gosh.
So, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen it. If you haven't, it's really funny. So like when he goes, he's like, you know, they're talking about love languages. And
Yeah,
I
and
thought,
she's
first
like,
of all, I thought it was really funny that she goes, like receiving is like my third love language.
which
Well,
means it's
I'm like,
really important.
but I'm like,
I was
there's only 5. So like, you know, like you can't go past 2.
yeah,
you know
no,
what
I was
mean?
like, Monica, I'm like, when you're getting down to the third, I don't think it holds as much weight
yeah, you
as
can't
like
go there.
you can't.
But she was trying to say it's not my first, even though it is. She was trying to be like, you spoil me, dude. And like, I'm trying to not sound, because I know that you're not into that. But when he said like, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to do big stuff like Kate Spade. And then she goes, you better not get me Kate Spade. Like, if you think that's spoiling me, we have a problem, because I wouldn't even get that for myself any day of the week. And she's like, YSL. And he goes, what's that? I
He
was
goes,
like,
what's that? She
that's
goes,
when I
Louis
knew
Vuitton?
before the cheating even happened. Like, you know what? You can kind of have different lifestyles.
I was
but
about
when
to
you're
say-
that far.
I was about to say, this is not going to work. When someone is like, I'm spoiling you with Kate Spade, and that person hears Kate Spade and like takes that as an insult, I'm like, this is just not.
Yeah, when
this
someone
is
says,
no way.
I'm not going to go crazy and spend $100 on you, and the person goes, you mean $3,000?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you guys are on very different worlds right
I mean, it just, but he does, by the way, eventually when they go back home, take her to a flower, like a pressing
Yeah.
place, which obviously the producers are the
Yeah,
ones
yeah.
who picked this place out. There's no way that Steven
But I
looked
thought it
this
was
up
funny
and
because
found
his
it.
issue was like, what does it deal with flowers anyway? So he's like, maybe if we press them, they'll last longer, so I won't have to do this a lot.
It's true. Every time you complain, every time you mouth
Look
off,
at, they're right there.
be like, you're wearing them. You
Yeah.
put them in a necklace.
Look at. I bought
They're
you
every
flowers.
day.
We pressed them, so I don't have
These
to buy
are
you more.
lifelong flowers.
It's like a, you know. It's
Do you
like,
not care about
yeah,
me?
look, I got you flowers. They last for years.
That's 100%
Yeah,
why
it was
he
like,
did that.
this is a way for me to justify buying you flowers.
But you heard him in the ITMs as he has her at the flower place.
Mm.
He's like, yeah, you know, I blew it about not bringing the flowers, getting her flowers, but you know, there are benefits to bringing a woman flowers, like getting laid. And he's like, okay, this is where
No. He goes, I'm not one of those guys, basically, he said. He goes, some guys do that, though. And it's like, brother, you literally, no one asked about it. She didn't say, isn't it crazy that some guys do this to get laid? And you went, yeah, isn't that crazy? You brought it up and then said you're not one of those guys, which is literally the most incriminating thing you can. It'd be like if you were like, you know, in the court and you're like, isn't it crazy how some people could have committed this crime that in the way that they did, but like, it's not me though, but like, it is crazy how a lot of people could. And everybody's like, what? We're here for you, dude. Like, he's insane.
And the thing that's wild too, that I was like starting to put together after, is she brought up the flowers when they were still in Mexico and they had numerous days left in Mexico. By the time that they did the pressed flower date, they had already had the conversation on camera that they hadn't been sleeping together because since Mexico, he started to voice his questions and concerns.
And falling off and not being romantic. And so she was kind of like, you know,
And so
I'm
she's
not
like,
really feeling
no,
sexual
like
because of all that.
absolutely not. This is not happening.
And he's like, I can't go 4
and
hours.
then all of a sudden, then he's taking her to the pressed flower place.
yeah.
It's like when all of a sudden it's like sex is off the table.
Sure.
Then he shows up and is like doing what he's promised.
But
You're
it
like,
was interesting. You did see the beginnings of the doubts happen when they were talking about like the purses and the flowers.
yes.
Because he kind of was going like, I think he also kind of realized, you know, let's delete the cheating just for a second and just talk like relationally. I think he kind of was starting to get into this zone of like, I sold myself too high, a certain guy that I'm not.
Yeah.
She obviously expects things that I can't provide. I'm extremely emotionally unintelligent, so I can't even address this issue. You know what I mean? Like he started to get like scared when she was like,
also
how about you hook me? You know, you said you were going to be this guy and you're not this guy, and he's kind of like shit. Like,
but I also think too. Think about this: when you have, in my theory, potentially are lying and know you have no job back at home, right?
Yeah.
And you have the history you have, and you have a phone full of back and forth sexting conversations, and you're about to live with this person, you're scared. He's also on camera.
Yeah, like put on the fake, like sell it. Like you would even think too that he would be like being overly, like my thought is too, like to cover up the lie. Showering her with stuff.
No, but I'm saying like, I think that the reason that he started quote unquote questioning their relationship is that because he knows what's back at home. He knows what he's done. He knows what he's into. He knows he's itching to get his phone back so he can start DMing people. And so there's that like,
kind of reality
putting
hit.
it out there. And again, the guy can't shut up that he's like, yeah, he's going to put it out there, be like, yeah, I don't know about this. It's a big commitment. And she she said all of a sudden, she was like, you were the one who between the both of us was like, I'll do anything and I'll marry you tomorrow. And now, you know, the reality. A lot of these
guys were doing like, you know, it's so funny about the whole, like they were like a lot of people were really selling themselves in the pods.
Big time.
And, you know, wow. Just incredible.
We saw a lot of that.
Yeah.
But one of the moments that had my jaw on the ground was when they end up having the final group dinner in Mexico together.
This was a good one.
So Monica and Steven, they're a little on the rocks. They're
like
prickly.
It's not vibes.
No.
She's feeling underappreciated.
Yes. They're prickly post this conversation. The fireworks begin and Monica's there by herself because Steven, you know, won't shut up and stop talking to Garrett. By the way, he then comes back, blames it on Garrett in front of Taylor.
Wild
He's
move.
like, well, listen, I know Garrett, and I know the way that Garrett's brain works, and he's got to talk this stuff out.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because you know Garrett, Mr. Venter to Steven, like listen. I'm sure you and Steven and Garrett get along, but I'll tell you one thing. Garrett, no, I'm saying before all this came out, I'm sure one thing Garrett didn't need to do was get Steven's analysis opinion on something.
Also, I'm sure Garrett didn't say a word.
Yeah, I'm sure Garrett wasn't venting. I'm sure you were venting.
Steven wouldn't shut up.
But he did the
25
classic
minutes straight.
And that's interesting too, I will say, that makes him double bad.
Yeah.
Is that like, okay, not only are you a liar to your girl, but you're also a rat to your boys. So it's not like he's even like a boys first. You know what I mean? Like he ratted everyone out.
Oh yeah.
So
Everyone's
he lies
going down.
to her and outed his friend.
Yeah.
For something he didn't even do. Like he put a blame on his friend. So I will say, like,
he also made it seem too like he kind of put it out there like, hey, Garrett had to get some stuff off his chest. That's what I'm saying.
Like almost incriminating him that like he's got doubts or something
and
to
makes
really
Taylor
make
start,
it exactly.
Yeah.
And luckily Taylor's rock solid, so she didn't spin. But I was just like, it was crazy to see him like in front of Taylor do that. Like it's one thing to even lie to her to be like, oh, don't tell him, but he was struggling, whatever. But to be like,
say it to Taylor's face.
To be like to her face, to be like, you know, she can just walk over and ask him. Like that's where the real dumbness happens with him.
And then he starts somehow this conversation about him talking to Garrett spirals into him being like, well, you know, you got to really know who you are once you get out of these pods, because you know how it is. Once we hit the real world and our faces become known, and essentially, you know, he's saying we become famous, the amount of DMs, the amount of home wreckers who are going to slide and be like, I don't care who you're with. I want to suck your dick.
Has this guy ever been on the internet? Like, what is he talking about? That's so crazy. He's got like a 1985 idea of like how he thinks he's going to walk off the set of this show and be like,
and like groupies are going to be
Def
everywhere.
Leppard, or like being like Motley Crue. He thinks he's getting off like the tour bus in 1986 in Sunset Strip, and there's just like there's just 300 women. I'll be like, like he thinks it's gonna be like when he gets off a plane, it's gonna just be flashing. He's like, you're on Love Is Blind, dude. Like, what are you talking? I don't care who you are. I want to suck it now. Like, bro. And I love the fact that he's kind of saying that Garrett was saying this. You know what I mean? Like, Garrett's like, bro, I don't know, man. It's going to be tough to be with Taylor because the amount of dick sucking that's going to be going on is going to be off the rails. And Steven's like, I know. And I was like, whoa, man. And this is 2 seconds, by the way, after. This is 2 seconds after, by the way, Monica was pissed at him for not being romantic. So like he was off talking, not connecting with her. She was writing him about that, got pissed at him. He sucks up to her by giving her a drink that she doesn't even like. He's like, you like sparkling water? She's like, no. He's like, well, there you go. I drink it anyway. And he goes, by the way, isn't it crazy to think how many girls are going to suck my dick, ladies? Like the guy is like wild when it comes to not knowing how to read a room.
And then Monica's like, "What is happening?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "Listen, don't worry, Daddy's bringing it back around."
Yeah.
He said something like, "Papa's gonna land the plane."
I'm gonna land the plane. My favorite though.
And he's like, "I'm gonna land the plane," and he's like, "Back to the dick suck."
Yeah, my favorite is that Monica gets up in a huff, pissed about the fact that her boyfriend is talking about getting his dick sucked by groupies that don't exist to another woman. She leaves in a huff and he goes, babe, no, don't. Anyway, so Taylor, about the dick sucking, and he just continues on. He doesn't leave, like thinking Taylor wanted to talk about this. He doesn't leave Taylor going, sorry, I think I fucked up. Let me go follow her. He just goes, she'll be back. Anyway, so about that, and Taylor's like, I didn't want to have this conversation. Like,
poor Taylor, watching Taylor, she like follows the women with her eyes, and it's like, are we serious?
Like, you're
cornered me at the party talking about how many, in your words, home wreckers are gonna say, I don't care who you're married to.
Yeah.
Let me just come for it, babe.
It's 1987.
It was one of the wildest things. I was screaming.
It was
screaming.
I was jaw to the floor.
Also, all that this is and all that this was just the actual showing of Steven's game plan. You go, oh, this is why you came on the show.
Yeah, 100%.
And I thought that as soon as he said that, and then obviously later when he starts texting another woman, it was like, no shit. But I started thinking that right away where I'm like, oh, the only reason this guy is bringing this up is because he's literally like, he's like, ladies, sit by my feet for a moment while I talk to you about my fantasy.
Yes.
He was literally outlining his sexual fantasies.
Because he didn't even say...
Like, the hundreds of gals that are going to be pounding down my door. And like you said to him, like, Steven, who do you think you are? Like, what show do you think you're on? And also, you're not the hot guy that was the star from Too Hot to Handle. Yeah, you're not Harry Jowsey.
Or whatever. You know what I mean?
He fancies himself a Harry Jowsey.
He fancies himself a Harry Jowsey. He's like, me and Harry are going to be taking the town.
100% his hero. And he's like, I am purely on this show to get in the ranks of and be besties with Harry Jowsey and we're going to hit the town. It's like, my guy, it's not going to happen.
It's so funny to me that he also throws in the like, because he's like talking about how like there's gonna be a lot of homewreckers, and then he goes like the temptation's gonna be very high. Like, so he doesn't even say like it's crazy that all these people are gonna be like doing this. He just was like, and also it's gonna be really hard for me. Like, dude, are you literally the worst?
And he also, I forgot about this, he did slip into, you don't know who's gonna come out of the woodworks and say things.
Right.
So he pulled a Tyler and he threw in there too. Just FYI, probably people are going to come out and say shit about me.
So epic.
I mean,
it's really funny. I mean, not obviously for her, but just like when you're watching this, you're like, this guy is unhinged, dude. It's almost like he has like something where like if he starts talking, he can't stop.
It's just
like here, and he starts digging holes, and then he has to kind of dig himself out of it, and then it just starts to get worse and worse.
Well, and the man continues to talk. Yeah. He says more things that we need to talk about, okay, before the ultimate, the final shot. But let's take another quick pause before we dive into more of Steven's absolutely wild behavior. Family, oh my gosh. It's my favorite time of year. My favorite time of year is upon us. The leaves changing, the coziness, the holidays. But trust, I won't just be relying on a pumpkin spice to spice up my life. No. Embrace the natural power of cannabis this fall season with Via. Listen, whether you're cozy by a fire or going on a Halloween adventure, Via's premium federally legal cannabis products are your perfect companion. They're farmed and crafted with care in the US and trusted by over 500,000 customers. Genuinely, Via has a product for everyone. That is one of the reasons I love them so much. Whatever you're looking for, they've got a gummy for it, okay? And also I love that they have the 0 milligram to 100 milligram THC products. So they just have this huge variety for whatever you're feeling. So if you're 21 plus, check out our link to Via's website in our description for 15% off.
Ooh. Yeah, Via is well known for their premium THCA flower, grown indoors in state-of-the-art facilities and harvested at peak THCA levels to emphasize a natural aroma and flavor. And Via is constantly adding new strains to its website every week, as they're always receiving fresh new strains from their independent farms harvests. The THC flower strains are grown with care and rigorously tested to ensure the highest quality, free from harsh pesticides or nasty chemicals. Via just launched their high THCA flower in 7 gram and 28 gram bags and brand new flavors for the THCA vapes line. So you have more options than ever to blaze your own trail.
And let me tell you about my fave, Via award-winning THC and THC-free gummies. They're some of the best, okay? I love them, specifically the High Love gummy for Evan and myself time. And I love their Dreams gummy before bed, and also the THC-free Zen gummy. There's so many great ones.
Yeah,
I love their
really
products
good.
so much. And I love their soothing topicals. By the way, all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the US in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee, no medical card required. So, again, if you are 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description and use the code MOMDAD to receive 15% off. After you purchase, they ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. This fall, enhance your everyday with Via. Again, check out the link to Via in our description and use code MOMDAD for 15% off. Okay, back to Steven.
Horn Dog McGee.
Horn Dog McGee. So before we discuss the ultimate ending of the two of them, I would like to just name a few things that Steven did and or said once they were back in DC. Okay. Number one, while he was at the pressed flower place with her, when she leaned in for a kiss, he licked her entire face.
Right.
I would have immediately ended the relationship. I go in for a cutesy kiss, post us pressing flowers together.
Post us having conversations about like lack of romance, about not stepping up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you lick me from chin to forehead.
Right.
That's going to be a pass for me. Okay.
Also, that was a fail.
That was a fail.
Not a pass. That was a fail.
That was a fail.
Yeah.
Also, he, for the second time, because he did bring this up in the pods and I never mentioned it, but I had written it down because I was like, that made me feel a little weird. When she finds out that he no longer has a job, and she is, by the way, so lovely.
I mean, right off of the Kate Spade comment to be like super supportive of him like being jobless. I gotta say, like, I was kind of ready for her to be like, what?
And she's talked a lot about how her big thing is like, I think about how much money they have and the type of job that they have.
So for her to make that shift was kind of wild.
Shout out to Monica. I feel like, maybe she's like, hey, these are kind of habitually the people I go after. But you see her like really making some concentrated efforts to love on a partner who did not deserve her at all in the least ever. And I hope this situation doesn't absolutely like traumatize her and damage her too much.
Because at least if you're going to get cheated on and lied to, like get some bags. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this guy's the double suck.
So
he's
like,
broke, jobless, and a piece of shit. Like, you're definitely like bummer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe back to the rich guys who are shitty.
I know.
But it's like, at least you're getting some like sick dinners and flown around.
But I believe that
mean?
Monica being on this show Steven will not be getting DMs. I believe Monica will be getting some DMs because
of course.
Monica's awesome. She's stunning.
Right.
She's successful. I feel I have high hopes for Monica.
Yes.
But when she finds out and she's supportive and she's like, I'll be your sugar mama, he's like, honestly, I'm perfectly okay with you treating me like a piece of meat.
He said that twice too. You're right.
So I'm saying he said it in the pods. He goes, I
Yes.
think it's hot when you treat me like a piece of meat.
So at first it was kind of like, he's kind of like, is that a hint? But the fact that he said it again, I was like, oh, clearly this is your thing.
Yes. I think if we were to look at the text message exchange, there'd be a lot of that, because he even said too, he's like, listen, if you want me to walk in and just drop trout.
Yeah, because you know all those people that do that.
Because that's what.
That doesn't sound like a fantasy for anyone else other than you.
Yeah, I'm like, because that's what partners want, is just someone to walk in and be like, go ahead and do your
foreplay.
worst.
Fuck that.
Do your worst to me, baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
my
like,
God.
You're just describing porn, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the guy's like, you know what's crazy? I am a guy, and this is crazy. I'm totally cool with you acting out porn fantasies. Isn't that crazy? Like, I'm willing. I'm willing to do that. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, and then in the same conversation, when they start talking about their current sex life, and she's like, hey, I've pulled back because of you questioning, and I'm going to protect myself. And he's just like, listen, I'm a man. Whatever way the wind blows, it hits in the right direction. And I'm like, fuck.
But by the way, he said that. He said that. That was the second time he said that too.
I know. I'm like, I'm ill right now. Okay.
He's talking to her like, again, another construction site guy. You know what I mean? Like, oh, stick my thing in this and that, and you know, and all talking about you blow the wind, and you like walk in the house and bend over. Like, he's talking like a gross locker room talk with his fiance. And she's given no inclination that she likes talking like this.
She's not interested in this at all. And then, he says, which I think is maybe the thing that upset me the most, where he's like, listen, let me tell you about women.
Yeah.
Women are, listen, let me tell you about women. Women are a lot more, they're a lot more complicated, and every woman has a different combo, but they don't even know their own combination. And I'm like, Steven?
You'll never know what a woman wants because she doesn't even know what she wants.
And I'm like, okay, first of all, please tell the woman in front of you how women operate.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you go ahead, Mr. Woman expert, and tell us women about our own bodies.
Yeah,
okay,
they love it.
That's perfect. We love to hear that from you. Also, when you're like, they don't even know what they want, I'm like, sounds like a you problem, Steven. Surprising. I'm sure you don't listen. I'm sure you are just an absolute energizer bunny doing exactly what you want, not giving a shit about your partner at all. Sounds like a Hugh problem. And then he's like, listen, let's talk anal. He's like, I'm not gonna. And again, Monica's just sitting there going, I didn't ask for any of this. He's like, I'm not the type of guy who's gonna wait for my birthday. Listen, I'm a guy, I got a dick. It feels good putting it in anything. I'll put it in anything. Macaroni and cheese, pineapple.
And she's like, have you done this? He's like, no. I'm just saying, like, people do that. It's like, brother,
what in God's...
You need help.
What in God's name is happening?
You need help.
I could
you need
not
to start
believe...
whacking off all day and go to work. Okay? That's what you need to do.
But then,
oh my God.
Then again, he does this whole other, like, just how earlier when he was like, let me tell you about women. And then he starts going like, if I had a vagina, I'd win a Nobel Peace Prize. He's like, can you imagine I'd have a vagina and I'd be able to compare the difference between getting kicked in the nuts and giving birth. And
again,
I'm like,
this is the lowest brow conversation you could ever have with another guy.
Yes, exactly.
You
this is the worst type of conversation
like,
that
this
two
is the type
men
of conversation
could have.
like someone starts talking to me about, and I'm like,
and you're like, I'll be leaving.
Who is this guy? This guy sucks. Let alone your fiance,
who's a woman. Okay.
And not only that, she's not one of those even rough and tumble fiancés where you're like, you guys are always kind of shooting the shit and you went a little too far. She has never once given you the inclination that she likes locker room talk, that she finds it attractive or anything. So it's not even like you've had success. Like, oh, you talked about it and then it turned her on.
No.
It's like every time you've even... We're like this for 2 seconds. She's like, why are you doing this?
And he just keeps talking. He just doesn't stop talking. He doesn't stop talking. And then when he brings up the whole, like, yeah, if I had a vagina, I could win a Nobel Peace Prize. And I'm like, sir, whatever.
What does that even mean?
I'm like, sir, first of all, who knows what that means?
We're giving the Nobel Peace Prize to Mr. Steven here, who was able to successfully compare getting kicked in the nuts to birth. Thank you so much For the community of sciences.
Also, fuck you. That's even a question that birth and getting kicked in the nuts is the same. How literally dare you? And also, sir, I don't care what type of genitalia you have, you will never get a Nobel Peace Prize. So what are you talking
It's incredible.
about?
I mean, it's truly incredible.
The rage I was feeling. And then he wraps up that conversation, by the way, with being like, I don't even need sex. It's not something I need.
He's like, so all that said, I hate sex.
All that being said, really doesn't matter to me. I could live with or without it. But then we come to the final conversation where we have Taylor and Garrett who are there supporting Monica. They're in the apartment of Monica and Steven. They're listening to her. God, what a good friend Taylor is. You could just, I mean, just my obsession with Taylor continues, okay? Yes. The love of my life. But one of the most intense moments to me was when they're explaining what went down and Monica's like, who even knows if he was at a sleep test? And then they start talking about the texts a little bit. And Steven just walks in the room while they're talking about him. He gets like a soda, stares them and walks out.
It's so weird.
It's like, stay in the bedroom, Steven. Go for a walk, Steven. Why are you just wandering around?
Something.
Why are you just wandering
He's just
around?
Got thirsty. It's a little thirsty.
Couldn't. It's parched.
Ooh,
it was absolutely
sparkling
parched.
Sounded good.
Oh, but then when she's talking to him, she's like, I was reading text messages of yours that are filled with fetishes talking about coming, and he is so calm, and he's just like,
he was so calm.
He was just like, you're right.
It was crazy. I was expecting like, because he's so wired and crazy all the time and like over talkative, but this was like, he just was like, he didn't cry, he didn't panic, he wasn't trying to save his relationship at all. He was literally just like, yeah, you're right. And she's like, say something more than you're right, like fight for our basically relationship.
His energy was literally like, well, and I'll take my things from the desk.
Yeah. But because it was super weird.
Before the boss could even fire you, you're just like, and I'll be leaving now.
What was super weird to me though is that I think the most hurtful thing was that he didn't try to lie more. I think if I was her, I would have been like appreciated.
I would want to lie, but
no. I'm saying no. I'm saying I would have at least appreciated him like trying to craft this entire fake story to like save our relationship.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was just like, yeah, I shouldn't have gone on the show, and the whole thing. So anyway,
I'll leave you be. He said, I'll leave you alone.
He's like, I'll leave you here now.
Three times.
That's what was, I think, the most devastating to me if I was her.
Yes.
Like, at least give as much effort into creating more of a lie, trying to gaslight me. Like at least give effort to cover up, to at least show that like you want to state it. But the fact that he, like, nothing to me is more devastating than like extreme apathy after you've been caught.
Well, I will say he did try to lie for 1 second and then stop.
You won't believe anything I would say anyway.
And he said, well, I sent the text messages last night when I was drunk. And she's like, you sent them more and the worst ones in the morning. And he goes,
I don't remember I do.
I don't think so. I don't remember. And she's like, give me your phone.
From like 5 hours ago.
I don't remember. It's crazy. It's just been, this whole experience has been so wild. I don't even remember which day where it ends and where the next day begins. And then she's like, well, let me see your phone. He's like, I deleted the messages.
He's like, I deleted them. No, because I don't even want to look. I can't even look at myself. I'm so ashamed.
To say I deleted the messages because I don't even want to look at them.
I'm so grossed out.
Is the funniest.
I did them 1 hour ago, but I'm so grossed out. I can't believe myself.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. I mean, it was truly.
I will say an iconic, just bomb in the middle of your life. Like horrific levels of just betrayal and just, we've never seen anything to this level.
No, absolutely not. But my jaw was just on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most iconic parts though, where I was like cheering Monica was when she's like, you'll be Venmoing me for the past couple days when I've been floating you. And he's like, I will. She goes, no,
do it
right
now.
And he goes to his phone, it's silence, and then you hear like the ching.
Yeah.
I was like, that was truly iconic.
She's like, I'm
behavior.
getting something out of this.
Well, it's not even getting something.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like, you owe me money. Like, you've lied to me about who you are. You completely deceived me this entire time.
She got a ring, right?
Yeah, but they're going to make her give it back.
No,
I can guarantee
no,
you.
remember what's it called from a couple seasons ago? She was like, I'm keeping my ring, by the way.
Well, I hope that Monica gets to keep her ring.
Sell that shit.
Sell that shit.
Go on
Oh my
vacation.
gosh. Get your YSL bag. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
he wasn't going to get it for you. But I mean, my heart like broke in a million pieces
Yeah.
for her because that was just, it's so upsetting.
She
But
took a risk on him too. She's like, you
That's
know
the
what? I'm not
thing.
even attracted to him and he's not even cool. But you know what? Seems like a nice guy. I'm
That's
gonna
the
take a
thing
risk.
that was so
I'm gonna break my
devastating.
pattern, and then you get hurt the most.
and
I'm
it's just like
bro.
you're thinking, you're like, because listen, I'm a star, but we were all thinking it. We were
Yeah.
like, this woman is very much out of this man's league.
100%,
Okay. So
100%.
we're all thinking it. And then she takes this risk and then he absolutely is just the worst and a nightmare and just screws her over.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Did they say how they got the text messages, or was it just
no,
discovered?
but I'm expecting a lot of answers at the reunion.
Yeah, like how was like how did she find the text
Nick,
messages?
Vanessa, we're gonna need all the receipts.
Yeah, I'm super curious how she got
I
it.
need all the bits of information. And if Steven doesn't
Because she
show
even said,
up,
because she said, "Give me your phone,"
yes,
and he said no. You know what I mean? He said, "I deleted the messages." So how did they
how
get
did
the
she
messages?
get them in the first place? Yeah,
Because she could have checked. Because she even said, "I know you did it today too." So it's like, where's the information coming from?
Maybe his like computer, iPad,
Oh, like
cloud.
But she could have looked at it.
But he deleted them. If he deletes them from his phone, I think it gets deleted
But
everywhere.
you think she would have like taken screenshots or something? I don't know. It just something's weird about that. I was like, wait, how are the messages?
We need all the information.
Unless someone who was texting him texted her or
and
something.
I will say, considering Steven's energy, I do think he will show up to the reunion because he'll be like,
hope he
Steven's
does.
such an idiot that he'll be like, I can convince the world
Yeah.
that I didn't do any, like that I am a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And he's going to think he'll be able to show up. And he's like, if I show up and convince the world, then I'll get more DMs
Yeah.
from all these women. This
Yeah.
is the proof is in the pudding. This man couldn't keep his pants on essentially
Right.
for like a few days. The reason this man went on the show was to get famous and get DMs.
100%.
He just wanted to
'Cause
get
when he got busted, it was
all
literally
the
like
DSing
emotionless.
DMs. Yeah, he just wanted all the DSing DMs.
All right, yeah, sorry, bye. I'll leave you alone.
And it's a little bit like, oh well, this didn't work out with her. Good, because I wanted to be
Luckily, I have my 1985 line out.
playing in the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I literally I can't even wrap my
Insane.
brain around it. But clearly that's where it ends for
Yep.
the two of them, and hopefully we will see the both of them at the reunion.
I mean, if they both come, it'll be electric.
Oh yeah, because she's funny and quick too.
Yeah,
she will
she's-
absolutely skewer him.
Yes.
Like
yes.
she'll be able to tie him in knots left, right, and sideways.
he'll start talking and won't be able to stop, so he'll just be able to like absolutely like melt, which will be epic.
You know, he'll reveal everything during.
Please come, Stephen. We need to see you melt in front of everybody.
He'll reveal all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to Hannah and Nick.
Yes.
I want to talk about Hannah and Nikki D. I was having some giggles
Yeah,
and
some good
I mean,
moments.
what? Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with these two as well. But let's take another quick pause before we talk Hannah and Nikki D. So all these Love is Blind couples are now officially living in their new shared space together. And all I can say is if I was on the show, I would be hoping and praying that the beds that they provide are Lisa beds, because I'll be needing some amazing, comfortable sleep to deal with this certain men, okay, in this show in general. So give me a Lisa bed at least for blissful sleep. Family, you know we recently got a Lisa mattress to put in the room, and now we are all fighting over sleeping in it because it's so comfortable. And my mom actually just stayed over last night and was like, give me the Lisa to try. And here's the deal. My mom can really struggle with her sleep. And she woke up this morning and was like, this was incredible. I love this mattress. I slept amazing. So now I know what I'm going to be getting mom for Christmas.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's a Lisa mattress,
She's
baby.
in love. She's in love. Yeah, using the highest quality materials, Lisa meticulously designs and assembles their mattresses in their own factory for exceptional comfort and support. And wow, you really can feel it.
Yeah,
It's
you really can.
So good. Lisa has several different mattress models to choose from, each designed for specific sleep positions and feel preferences. And delivery is free, returns are easy, and you have 100 nights to try out your mattress in the comfort of your own home.
God, I love it so much. We got the Sapira hybrid, and I'm telling you all, listen, I have slept on some comfortable mattresses before. This is by far and away the best, in my opinion. It's my favorite we've ever had. I absolutely love it. And with Leesa, your purchase has a purpose. Every year, Leesa donates thousands of mattresses to those in need, with more than 40,000 donated to date. Go to leesa.com today to order your mattress. Leesa is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. That's leesa.com, leesa.com. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. Remember, no matter who you are, there's a Leesa just for you. Okay, next we have Hannah and Nick. Now, we don't see a lot from them when we're in the remainder time in Mexico.
Right.
They go bungee jumping. We have a moment at the group dinner where Hannah is telling all the women that she's teaching Nick things and maybe he'll teach her something eventually. So that's kind of the energy we get.
So interesting, that dynamic.
The remainder time of them in Mexico. Let's talk Hannah a little bit and then we'll talk Nick.
Yeah.
Hannah... It's just relentless, Evan.
Yeah, there's clearly something there, where she just has to. It's almost like, I feel like this dynamic is a dynamic you see with couples.
Yeah.
Certain couples. We all know, we all have one of them.
Yeah.
That we know. And, where it's like one of the partners is just constantly shitting on the other one.
Yeah.
And the other one, it kind of just goes, well, yeah.
You know how
you know
it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of uncomfortable in the room.
The whole room is awkward.
He's an idiot, and everyone's kind of like,
and you're like, that was way too far.
You know what I mean?
This isn't like playful ribbing.
Yeah, this isn't interesting. It's not it's not funny.
No, you genuinely mean it, and we can all feel it.
Yeah, and we can see it because you guys just walked in and you were fighting in the car. You know what I mean? And you're not keeping it to yourself too. Yeah. You're kind of letting everyone else right, guys, he's an idiot, and everyone's kind of like, I don't know, we're just getting dinner, or I don't know why you were doing this, And she really has this weird performative energy about her where she has to make it clear. Clearly she's insecure.
Yes.
Because it's she has to make it clear that she's smart and he's dumb.
Yes.
I don't know why.
That she has it together and he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
She was literally sitting there in DC. She was like, well, obviously I'm more mature than you, and I'm more emotionally intelligent than you, and I'm more intelligent than you.
And she's always you annoy me. And she's just constantly. So I don't know why she wants to be there. If she thinks he's dumb and a loser and bugs her all the time, or if it's kind of that's her MO, that's her vibe, and she just kind of shits on everyone, and whoever can kind of survive that is around her.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It was interesting because there were a few factors. One, when we meet her brother at one point, who I loved him. I think he was an absolute doll. He was so cute. But you could tell their dynamic right away when he walked in, and he was kind of ribbing Nick, but then the difference was with her brother, I think his name was Cade, is that he then was like, well, hold on a second. And he was then also defending him a little bit.
Right, because he knows the vibes.
And then when he had an alone moment with Nick, it's Hannah left.
They start talking shit on her.
And Nick's like, she's really, really mean to me.
And he's like, I know,
and
it's
Cade's
horrible.
I know, that's been my entire life, and she makes me feel really bad.
Oh, here she comes. Hey, Hannah, how are you? But the thing that I find about both of them is that she's got this real complex about I'm my own woman, I'm strong, I'm in my own life, I got my own apartment, I've been taking care of myself at 18.
Yes.
And then Nick's literally the opposite.
Well,
because one of the funniest things Nick did, what I really it really explained to me how inexperienced in life he is.
Yeah.
It was one subtle moment, but to me it said more than anything.
Which was what?
Was when the brother came in and he goes, would you like a glass of wine? And he goes, sure. And then he just goes, do you want me to pour it for you?
The brother goes, yeah, be a gentleman.
He was going to offer him a glass of wine and then just allow him to go get his own glass of wine.
Hand him,
so it was like that, and it was innocent. It was almost like I've never had a guest that I've had to take care of. So
well, I don't think
I offer you a glass of wine because I almost saw it in a movie once, but do I pour it for you?
I don't think
even know
he's
how to
really
pour
ever
wine.
had guests, because even when we talk about him living with his family, he makes a comment where he's like, yeah, you're I don't let anybody in this space. You're one of the first people to come into this space.
Which is very failure to launch energy.
It was giving failure to launch.
But even just he even said yeah, I've never been in love. I've only dated 2 people ever, and he's 28. So he's incredibly inexperienced, and so it's he's kind of just like,
I mean,
don't
listen,
know.
you can be 28 and not have ever dated anybody and not be inexperienced. It's the life stuff. And we'll talk more about Nick in a second. But what I was going to say is with Hannah, we saw this with her brother where he's like, yeah, she makes me feel bad a lot. But then when she met up with her parents with Nick, it was a weird thing because on the one
really
hand,
uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable
For her.
Yes. On the
Nick
one,
was like chilling.
Nick was chilling. The parents were fine with him. On the one hand, she was complaining and her parents were like, you need to be less picky because we would have kicked you out long ago.
Yeah.
But then when Hannah was doing the whole like, well, he should be lucky to be with me. And
they're like, what?
No, the mom goes, what did you just say?
Like, are you serious? She goes, yeah.
And it kind of weirded me out because I was like, okay, so brother has this picture of her where she's constantly ribbing.
Right.
In not a nice way.
No.
Parents know that she's rough, but parents are simultaneously shocked by her very bold declarations of how amazing she is.
Well, and it's definitely like that she's playing some sort of like role.
I think it made me feel like she is playing a role for the camera. Like, I think she is the person who, like the families said, she's real difficult in the fact that she will absolutely give you shit but can't take it at all and is constantly kind of poking but can't take it. I think that's genuinely her. But I think this whole
Which is low-key the worst person ever.
You're like, I don't want to
Like, the worst person ever to hang out with is someone that like makes fun of you all the time and then can't handle it. Like, at least if it goes both ways, you're like, yeah, it's kind of a lot to be around them, but they're funny and I can. But the fact that it's a one-way street is just called being a bad person. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, it's called having a bad personality, not a bad person. It's literally the definition of a bad personality is someone who makes fun of you all the time and can't take a joke. I mean, if you were to put in the dictionary, what's a bad personality? Is that
either be nice, be gracious, be open and communicative, where you
being
can be a little
sensitive and abrasive is like the worst personality you can have.
It's pretty brutal.
Oh my gosh, so funny today,
What am I supposed to do with this? But her family, when her mom was so thrown off by the way that she said things, you should be lucky to be with me. I think that's a put on.
Her parents got the ick.
They
were
fully
like,
got the ick. They
you're
were like,
gross,
oh,
dude. Like,
God.
there's a reason why you don't hang out with you.
But like, well, also too, there's a lot of layers I'm curious about with Hannah's family.
It was an awkward energy.
Because it was like, they cut her off at 18. So I'm like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Are they just like that in general? But then also it's like her brother said that he came out to Hannah first.
Right.
And then he didn't meet up with the family. So I'm wondering about her parents
Who
in
knows?
general.
There may
I'm
be
like,
some
I think
vibes there,
I don't know. I feel like maybe they're pretty, and it's not great.
Right.
But her mom's shock at the way that she said certain things, which are very much how Hannah's been this whole time, like being very like, well, you should be so lucky and I'm so smart and you're so da-da-da. I think she's putting it on for the camera. I think and not in the way of, I don't think she thinks she's being a villain. I think for the camera, Hannah's trying to be the like, I'm a boss ass bitch and I'm a strong woman and everyone's going to love this.
Yeah.
I think she's trying to put on for the camera that she's attempting to be boss. And it's a little bit like, listen, like, we like love and celebrate like a strong woman. But like at this point, you're just
strong
like,
doesn't mean like fuck everyone.
Exactly.
That's
I'm
not
like,
strength.
we need to just kind of recalibrate like what that like, a strong woman means to this individual, because I'm like, you're just essentially.
I loved it though. The parents were kind of like,
but I think she's putting on a certain character.
But the parents definitely had like what does he see in her energy?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like they were like,
I know.
She's like, aren't you going to grill him? And they're like, no, I mean, he seems like a nice guy. I don't know why he's with you. You're kind of the worst. But, anyway, like it was funny how they felt so uncomfortable around their own daughter. It was definitely like
I know.
How much longer do we have to be here? We don't really like you.
You know what?
You kind of suck energy.
Credit to Nick with brother and with parents. Very good.
Really good. And he was like, he's
like,
your daughter's amazing and I love her so much. And they're like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but with the parents, when they first sat down, they were so tight and
Yeah.
everyone wouldn't talk. And Nick was like asking them a bunch of questions. And like, you know what? It's like, I gotta.
Talking to the son about football, talking to the hockey.
Let me say this about Nick. Okay. So I went real hard last episode and I was like, I was coming at the people who I was seeing online saying like, poor Nick.
Sure.
Hannah's the worst. We love Nikki. Da, da, da. And I'm like, stop it. Nick is also stinks. Like, why are you?
Right.
And I do have to say, I have to humble myself a little bit and say, I am getting that a little more. I cannot lie to you. My heart softened more for Nikki D this episode.
Big time.
And I was wrong. I do, though, think it is in comparison to what we're seeing on this show.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think there's a level.
Yeah, right. It's like the backdrop.
It's a little bit like, okay, yeah, sure. Compared to Steven, compared to then Tyler lying, compared to Hannah being the absolute, like, just constantly
Right.
making fun and being rude to Nikki D, Nikki seems like a nice guy. But if it was just Nikki D, I'll still stand by some of the shit I'm saying. I still saw him in the pods where he was putting on a certain thing. And we then saw in these few episodes that he clearly was putting on a like, I'm this type of guy. Baby girl, I got my own place. I got this killer pad with a pool table.
Right.
Baby girl, I'm a cook. I'll make food that's gonna blow your mind.
Right.
Dude's never even boiled pasta
Right.
once in his life.
He's like, how do I do it?
He had to ask us step by step. He goes, so what exact dial should I put it
At
on
least go to the
temperature-wise?
bathroom. He's very.
And he goes, what level of water? Do I fill
Yeah.
it up halfway?
Right.
I mean, this man's never touched it. And in the pods, he was definitely presenting
course.
himself a certain way
Yeah.
to Hannah, which I do think has to be acknowledged as much as I feel like he is handling her outbursts and criticisms very graciously.
Yeah.
So I have to give him credit for that. But he also did present himself in a dishonest way to a certain extent in
No,
the
if you're a
pods.
30-year-old woman and you find out all the shit that he is, which is like doesn't know how to cook, doesn't know how to clean, doesn't know what stocks are, like doesn't know anything,
The
you're
stock conversation was
unemployed.
so funny.
You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, he's not unemployed, but
I mean, he is though. Like, he's a real estate agent who has cards on his desk, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more just saying, like, he would be a massive letdown if you were a 30-year-old person after the way he talked about himself in the pods. That's more
Yes.
what I'm saying. It's like he sold
Yes.
himself as to being this guy, and he's just a guy who
well,
lives
he
at home
sold
and has no
himself
life.
as he was like, I was a professional football
Right.
player, and then I couldn't make it through, but I am like absolutely crushing it in
Right.
real estate. I mean, he did tell in the pods where he's like, I'm struggling financially.
Or at the very end.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so Nikki D, when we go to his home,
It was great.
it was one of my most favorite
I loved
parts
it.
because in the intro of it, listen, shout out people who live at home. It's like things are goddamn expensive, especially
Of
these
course.
days. And like you do what you need to do to save money to take care of yourself. I honestly, if I'd meet a guy in the pods and he was like, I still live at home, I'd be like, I have some questions,
Yeah.
but I totally get it. Because at this point, honestly, if you and I weren't married, I'd probably be living at my house too. I feel like if
Right.
we live with my mom, I can save money and also mom's around. But what made me laugh is that in the ITMs, he said, and this is that pod energy where you're like, you're not being fully honest, Nikki D. Just be you fully, okay? He said, listen, I told Hannah I still live at home, and you might think that's embarrassing and I should be ashamed of it, but I'm not, because listen, here's the deal. When I was a football player, I was traveling constantly. So it's like, what's the point of renting a place when I'm always traveling? So I lived at my parents' house, and I was like, but what about the last 3 years?
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, let's be real, Nikki D. You got real comfortable and cush at mom and dad's house.
Oh, yeah. No bills, chilling.
This is then where the difference, where we end up finding out later that Hannah finds out mom and dad still pay. He doesn't even like know what insurance is. She's like, Nikki, I had to ask you, and you didn't even know if you had insurance on your car.
No clue.
He's 28.
Yeah.
So his parents pay for his insurance. He didn't even know if he had it. His parents pay for his phone bill. And I'm like, Nikki D, your football career was 3 years ago. If it was truly about the fact that you travel constantly and why waste money on renting, let's be real, then you'd be gone.
But not to know anything is pretty wild.
It's wild.
To be almost 30 years old and not know what insurance is,
and when
basically.
she brought up stocks, and he's like, you make money from
He's
those?
like, what are stocks? Like the things that people would put you in the medieval times? He's like, I love medieval times. I eat there all the time. But like him having no clue about anything in adult life is actually pretty wild.
And then when you get to his house, you're like, no wonder he hasn't left. Because his parents...
He's like, they love having me there. I loved that. That was a great comment.
He's like, they love me there.
Love
He's
me
like,
there.
why would I leave? And that's then where the red flag begins, where you're like, hey, I get you saving money and staying at home. Totally respect and understand. You're there because, like you said, it's big failure to launch energy where you're like, mom cooks you breakfast in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Dad feeds your cat.
Love it.
He talked about it. He goes, I can't.
It's like, I've never fed my own animal
He's like,
before.
no. I don't wake up early enough. My dad feeds my
I don't wake
cat.
up early. That's the one thing I really love about him is his incredible lack of shame that I am so jealous of.
It is truly
like he
incredible.
goes on a dating show.
Yeah.
And doesn't think about the fact that like one day he's gonna have to bring this person back to like his mom's house where he doesn't wake up early enough to feed his own cat. Like the lack of shame this guy has is I've never seen anything like it.
And it is kind of beautiful.
I guess he is.
It's kind of beautiful.
It's kind of beautiful, but it's also like hugged too much, loved too much. Like there is a level of like, this is what happens when you love your kids too much. There is a level of like, you need to kind of like look at your kids one day and go like,
I believe loving too much is
you need to figure your own life out a
I think
little
loving
bit.
your child too much is an impossible thing, but I do think it is loving to your child.
It's not loving to your child to not prepare them
I
for
think
the
it's
world.
loving to your child to be like, hey, we need to sit down and figure out, you need to learn what
the reality of the
you need
world.
to learn what insurance for your car is.
Right.
Because it's time. Like you're 28 years old.
Right.
But I get, as soon as he got to his house and he's like, yeah, mom cooks. It's all great. Da, 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 da. But the biggest thing to me was I'm like, no wonder he's still here because God bless his, and we'll talk about them, precious parents.
Oh my God, so sweetest people in the world.
Sweetest people in the entire world.
They were so welcoming to her.
They were so sweet. But Evan, they walk into the house and he goes, let me show you my room. And he starts walking upstairs and she goes, I thought you lived in the basement. And he's like,
He's
no,
like,
no, no.
room A.
He said, my room growing up.
Yeah.
And they walk up, there's a plaque with his name on it. His parents haven't touched his childhood
It's like if he would have died.
since he left high school. And I'm like,
It's like if he died and they were like, we can't bring ourselves to throw away his shit. It was like that.
They hadn't.
But he's just living next door.
He's just in the basement. They haven't touched anything. And I'm like, when I tell you the second
But
my
our baby
foot,
just needed a little more space to
the
give him
second my foot stepped over the threshold of my parents'
shit
home,
was on eBay.
everything was gone. I came back first weekend, my whole room was gone. When I went to college, the whole room was gone. I'm like, you save and save. You're like, the second you left your house, you're like,
The
it
door
became a
shut
full.
behind me,
It's
it
a
was like,
workout room.
your
You're like,
shit's
it's
gone.
done. So the idea that this man's 28 and his parents are like, look at our sweet baby boy. And there's all his Letterman's jackets and there's all the books he read in high school and nothing's changed.
And it was like, by the way, the books were like Divergent. And like, you know, they were like,
when she goes, wow, look at all the reading you've done. He's like, well, yeah, it was like my high school book.
yeah. And then you look at the books and it's just like, it's like books that a 13-year-old would read.
I mean, shout out, love Divergent.
Yeah, I love it. Great
But I that was when we were like, oh, it makes sense. Because then he goes down to the basement and he's like, and then when Hannah did call him out for being like, your mom fully cleaned this room.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's always like
do
this.
it.
It's
I
I always do this. And she's like, yeah, right,
She's
dude.
like, when do you vacuum? He's like, once every 5 months or some shit. I don't know.
And she's a big clean.
Every
She
day.
was like every day dusting and
yeah.
vacuuming. So she's like,
Oh, this is the worst nightmare for a clean person. To be like
Yes.
your mom's house and it's not even clean. You're like, this is
Yes.
hell.
I have a few more things to
Yes.
say about the two of them. But first, let's take one last quick pause before we dive more in. So, fam, like I said, we all heard that Nikki D's dad feeds Nick's cat every morning because Nick can't get up that early, which I have thoughts on. But for now, I'll say my suggestion for Nikki D would be to check out our next sponsor, Smalls, if he wants to feed his cat the best. Okay. Smalls cat food is protein packed recipes made with preservative free ingredients you'd find in your fridge, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food. And listen, my dad, the cat king who loves his cats more than life and treats them like the kitty gods that they are, he feeds his cat Smalls. So I know it's amazing. Okay. If dad feeds them Smalls, it's the best. And when I've cat sat for him and fed them Smalls, trust. I notice they come a running the second that Smalls cat food comes out. And I actually recognize the ingredients in a packet of Smalls food, which is a game changer.
Oh, yeah. Smalls was started back in 2017 by a couple of guys, home cooking cat food in small batches for their friends. And a few short years later, they've served millions of cats across the U.S. At this point, you might be wondering, why can't I just feed my cat kibble? Believe it or not, your cute kitty descended from desert cats who hunted live prey for food, and your cat isn't any different. They still need fresh, protein-packed meals to be at their best. Other cat food brands know this, but they choose to put their wallets first. They fill their food with mysterious meat byproducts, artificial flavoring, and preservatives. No good.
And check this out. After switching to Smalls, 88% of cat owners reported overall health improvements. That's a huge deal. 88%. The team at Smalls is so confident your cat will love their product that you can try it risk-free. That means they will refund you if your cat won't eat their food. So give your cat the gift of great cat food this holiday season. Head to smalls.com/momdad and use promo code MOMDAD at checkout for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's the best offer you'll find. But you have to use our code MOMDAD for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's smalls.com/momdad. Use promo code MOMDAD for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. What a cute thing for the holidays. Get your cat some Smalls.
Yeah.
Underneath the tree or,
cute.
So cute. So cute. Okay, so back to Hannah and Nick. I feel like I've maybe called her Taylor a few times, by the way, and I'm not 100% sure because for some reason she looks like a Taylor to me.
Agree.
She reminds me of a Taylor I grew up with, so my brain is like Taylor. But Hannah and Nick, okay? So we meet his family, and like we said, they are literally...
You're so beautiful and so
I
sweet.
mean,
they're just praising her.
They're so excited to meet her. And, shout out to her. She brought some very thoughtful gifts.
She did.
But the parents were just like, we love her even more than we love you, Nick. She's so wonderful. And Mama was like, I know that, that Nikki hasn't had a lot of experience and he needs a strong woman, and he saw a strong woman. Mm-hmm. I love his mom.
Amazing.
And, whenever you get a kind of a glimmer of the family, it softens my heart if I love them towards. So like meeting his family definitely made me like Nick more. But you couldn't ask for better in-laws, and they were absolutely over the moon about her. And I'm wondering if meeting them is going to shift her energy maybe a little bit. I'm not sure.
No, my thing is I think they have a real chance. Because
I think they might
if anyone can put up with her constant just berating and just down talking, and he just continues to go, I just love her so much, that you're like, they might be perfect for each other.
Which is actually kind of blowing my mind.
Because he's got nothing going on, but he can take the constant berating of just the negativity and the shit talking. And she clearly needs to get it out all the time and needs to have that. So maybe they work. I don't see a world where a guy could put up with the stuff that she does. And I don't see her not stopping that. So I'm just kind of going maybe they kind of low key work with each other.
Yeah. I'm like, if they find, because I will say to Hannah's credit, as much as we're coming for her, she definitely is at the top of this, we were talking about quitting her job and all this stuff. Listen, you can tell she is a hardworking woman.
Right.
Once they got to DC, I was like, damn, Hannah does have her shit together. She is investing. She is cleaning constantly. She's on top of everything. She's way more type A than I thought she was. And she's got her shit together.
Right.
So the question is, are they going to be able to set into a balance of a relationship where she goes, I'm this part of the relationship, and Nick is the loving,
chill,
supportive part where we can kind of come together? Because like you said, it's blowing my mind to say it, but I could see them actually working if they both worked on themselves a little bit. If Hannah learned to be a little more encouraging, a little less constant. If Nick learned some more, certain life skills and to step up where it's like, hey, Hannah's going to be upset if she has to constantly ask me about this. And she, in some crazy world.
I see them working in a weird world.
See them working.
I see them working in a crazy world.
And like I said, I wonder too, because of the way that her parents reacted to some of the things she said, if she's putting up a certain facade for the camera, that when the cameras are off, yes, she'll still be
Maybe
clearly
a little
the person
softer.
who's picking at him, but maybe not as
brutal.
intense.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. But I do think they have a better chance than some of the other couples.
Shockingly, I'm walking away after these few episodes, and I was wrong about that. I was like, you know what?
Because I'm not seeing any secrets. I'm not seeing any surprises anymore.
No.
It's kind of like, I live with my parents and I know nothing. And she's like, I'm kind of gnarly and will berate you, but I am who I am. Like, there is kind of just like, there it is. So unless some big secrets come out, I see them kind of just being like, can I handle this?
Now, we do have a preview coming up where Nick is talking to one of the
Right.
women and is talking about her being beautiful. And
He's like, what? What's the big deal? Like, she tells me I'm hot. What do you want me to do?
So we'll see about that
Yeah.
one. So let's move on. But I do have to tell you quick, I forgot the one moment that it'll stay with me for forever. When Nick's mom asked to see the ring and she goes, oh, the ring. She's like, but look at your
hands.
beautiful hands.
I know. It's like, I just want to go to Nick's house to
She's
get
like,
a couple
on
compliments.
hands like that, anything would look beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's complimenting how beautiful her hands are. I'm like,
Like,
I need a
people
little
are
bit
incredible.
of Nikki D's parents. I wouldn't leave the house either.
No, I kind of am understanding him a little
Now
bit.
the question is, are mom and dad being so nice to Hannah because they want Nick to leave?
Right, it's a little bit of that energy. It's the
please
classic
take
failure
it.
to launch energy. You are a goddess.
Like, you are the most beautiful, incredible,
10
amazing
grand.
woman
Yeah.
we've ever seen in our
Get
lives.
him outta
They're
here.
just begging her to take him
They love
away
me here.
so that they can finally be alone and empty nest a little
So
bit.
funny.
Okay, let's move on let's talk about Ashley and Tyler.
Yeah.
Another big shock. So
Yeah.
overall, in these 3 episodes,
It was like nothing.
we didn't see a lot of Ashley and Tyler. What we did see though was when they'd have brief moments of conversation, it was number 1, her being fully in. She's like,
Yeah.
I'll marry you tomorrow. Number 2, constantly talking about kids.
Like he wants lots of kids. He'll be like, I want 10 kids. And she's like, how's about 2?
And he's even getting into the nitty gritty, being
Yeah.
like, hey, what are holidays going to look like with the family? Maybe we can start traditions together with our children. How many kids do you want? Constantly talking about children.
Very interesting.
Okay. And we do see Ashley and Tyler meet her dad, Dixon, which by the
Yeah.
way, her dad is cool as hell.
Yeah, super cool.
Her dad was like, he was rocking the shades inside for a while, and his energy was just the coolest. And he was saying, he's like, my daughter's the total package. And Tyler randomly was like, I'm not a cheater. I'm not a liar. I'm like, that kind of was an interesting, I don't know. There were
Right.
moments where I was like, this is interesting. Dad even says, how do you feel about family, kids? He said, I want a big family. And Tyler's like, I'm more than ready to have a big family. Dad ultimately, I love how dad does this, by the way. Dad ultimately, he asks his permission and
Right.
he's just like, who am I to judge what makes her happy? Who am I to tell her how to feel? He said, it's a journey and I'm in the back seat. And I'm like, that is such a beautiful parenting way to put something. Like, it's my kiddo's choice but I want to be in the backseat of this journey and be there to support you. But like, no, I'm not in the driver's seat. You do you, but I'm going to be there in the backseat.
It was very nice.
It
Very
was
poetic.
very poetic, very beautiful. But then we see at the very end of episode 9 where they are clearly in a disagreement. And
Shock.
yes, Ashley is in shock.
Yeah.
And she's saying, we talked about kids every day. We find out that he has kids, 2 girls and 1 boy. And he's saying he was a sperm donor.
Yeah.
But then with that, there was the comment made that he knows the people.
It's not just like he went to a clinic.
It's not just like he went somewhere and
It's like
donated
his friends
sperm.
basically asked him, like, will you give us your sperm? And he's like, yeah. So then he's like, not, he even said, I'm not involved, whatever. But like, he's kind
He
of like,
said, I have
know them."
documents that say I'm uninvolved.
Right. Which was basically saying, like, I have no custody or whatever,
Sure.
But like, I know Jim and Pam, and they're not to randomly use The Office, but but whatever. I know these 2 people,
Yeah.
and their kid is my seed, as we want to say it. And so it's like, that changes a dynamic heavily. That's not just like, by the way, I've been to a sperm bank a couple times and apparently they might have used mine for something. It's like, I'm kind of, and the kids might know one day. Like, it's one of those things to me where to wait this long is so wild. Because again, it's not like you have kids in the way where it's like, yeah, I have my 3 kids with my baby mama and like we're chilling. It's like this kind of gray zone where you're like, yeah, I technically don't have kids, but I technically do. Like, I don't know how you want to say this.
Yeah.
But the fact that he knows them is the big thing. And like for her not to know and like, why was he holding out that information?
Well, and my biggest thing, if I were Ashley, where I'd be the most upset is that I'm like, you're not some quiet, keep it to yourself type guy. He's a chatty Cathy.
Right.
He gives all the info. He gives all the details. So it's like, you're going to talk to me 100 times about really personal stuff and family and Christmases and all these types of things. And you are very intentionally leaving out this fact. That's, to me, what would send me off. And I think she even like mentioned it towards the end where she's like, what we had was this open trust.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if you're keeping other things from me. It wasn't even so much that she was affected by the fact that like there are kids out there that are, you know, from his sperm donations. It was like you intentionally held just back those specific things, but
he clearly saw
but you
it.
told me everything else.
Well, he clearly saw it as something that he kind of felt should be hidden, which is really interesting.
Well,
so
and
maybe, I don't know what about it, but he felt maybe she wouldn't respond a certain way or that is favorable, or that it would be earlier on, it would be a determining factor.
Well, and
he thought I had to kind of hide it, which is really interesting.
And you couple this with his conversation with her when they were in Mexico, where he was like, you know, people are going to come out and say he's not a nice guy and will come out of the woodworks. And I'm like, so what else is there? What else?
Yeah.
Because no one's going to say when it comes to sperm donation, he's not a nice guy. So it's like, what else are you not being honest about when you're hiding this? And then you're talking about people coming out saying you're not a nice guy. Like, what else is there? If I'm Ashley, I'm spiraling.
It's a weirdly big thing to lie about.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
To a fiance.
Yes.
A fiance. Weirdly to be like, by the way, because it's something you do to help someone. Like, the concept is really good, unless it's like a paid for thing and you needed the money and it was like whatever. But if let's say it's not that,
Yeah, you're still helping somebody.
but I'm just saying, like, if you're doing it just for the money versus like to help your friends, conceptually it's something you would be like proud of doing.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Or else you would say no because you're like, that would kind of make me feel uncomfortable about my future partner or something, right? Like, whatever the reason why he lied. So it's weird to kind of do something that would be categorized as kind of like helpful and kind, and then be shamed of it or hide it or whatever in order to like get someone into a relationship and then surprise them with it. It's just a weird move, and I'm like, it, like, to your point, I think it's the head of the beast. I think there's more there.
Well, okay, so here's some of the tea.
Okay.
Now, forgive me, family. I need to really dive into this. I just saw this right before we started recording, so I need to like
spend more time in it,
research and actually find out all the details. But from the little nuggets that I saw, what it appears to be is that, number one, there were some pictures that he deleted of him with the kids, and then one of his exes, I believe, alluding to the fact that it's like it's kids with her, and that like there's court documents where like she has the kids and they used to have his last name and they don't anymore. So basically what we're saying is it looks like what might be, I'm not 100% sure, but allegedly what might be is that they're literally actually his children with exes that he doesn't have custody of anymore.
right? Because you can
so
if
there's
that
no
is the
sperm
case,
donation happening. That's allegedly what the conversation is.
Technically, you're kind of, because if it was sperm donation, you would be like, by the way, yeah, it's Jeff and Carrie's kid, and they, you know, she had a hard time giving birth,
conceiving,
so I gave
his sperm was not,
whatever.
yeah,
and so then I helped them, and they're coming over later, and they're good friends. But like, generally, it's more like that if you were to know them, or I donated to a bank, right? Those are kind of the two normal places. But to be like, I'm a sperm donor to my ex-girlfriend is like me saying I'm a sperm donor to Jess. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, well,
what I'm saying.
technically, every guy's a sperm donor to their wife. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, wait a second. Her ripping custody away from you does not mean now you become a sperm donor. It sounds like, to your point, a spin zone.
Yes.
Like a way to spin a narrative to
Yes.
not be like, by the way, I have 3 children with
So
my
again,
ex.
like I said, I don't know the details.
if
So
that's
I'll say
true, that's a
I'll say
wild
allegedly
spin
right
zone.
now. But from what I'm aware of, that everything's being talked about is there were photos of the kids that were removed. There was the fact that they had his last name.
Right.
It's with an X. So you're like, okay. So basically,
I'm a sperm donor to Jess, and I still have contact with Ember, technically.
exactly. So again. Who knows what Ashley?
Wow.
Who knows what Ashley will find out for the remainder?
If that's true, that's the ultimate spin zone.
Who knows what Ashley's going to find out for the remainder of this season?
Oh my God.
But I will say, this is crazy, Evan. If she ends up marrying him, and he has children with and there's no I mean, what? If that's the case, walking into a relationship. Walking into a marriage completely blindsided. Completely. So, I mean, this reunion is about to go off the rails. These men,
liars, man.
Hey,
a lot
men,
of big time liars.
get the fuck out
Everyone's
of
a liar
here.
so far. I mean, other than Garrett, everyone's a liar. It's like, or I guess Tim isn't really.
No,
with
and
anything,
also
but,
Nikki D. I mean,
but no, Nikki D's a liar. He said I got my shit together. I'm this, I'm that, and
he's
then it's
not
like, I'm
fully
living at
honest.
home, doesn't know anything. So there is a lot of lying.
He did tell her that he
going
lives
on.
at home, but there were a lot of
just a lot of
exaggerations that are not
exactly.
Yeah. Oh golly gee.
Crazy.
Well, shout out to Ash. I love Ashley so much, and the way that
Incredibly
the way that she's
level-headed.
literally sitting there,
Just kinda going,
and then
okay.
she like hugs him, and she's just, I mean, what an incredible woman. I hope for her sake that the best happens for her. All right, next let's discuss Marissa and Ramses.
Yeah.
Hey, family. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but did I nail it or did I nail it?
In what way?
Are you for real?
I'm spacing now.
Last episode.
What
Oh
did
my
you
God, I
say?
can't believe I'm not getting my
I'm so sorry.
my
Your
conceptual
actual
flowers right
yeah,
now.
Okay,
Last
okay.
episode, I said, I looked up what he does and he's in justice reform. And I said, I bet they're not going to work out
Oh,
because
right.
of they're going to disagree on politics.
Politics,
I
you're right. I'm
nailed
so
it.
sorry,
And this
yes.
whole episode is them
Is about
disagreeing
that.
politically and with her
Right.
military background. Come on now. I mean,
Yeah, you
I
nailed it.
absolutely, I
You
nailed
nailed
that
it.
one. And I felt like it was a little bit out of, I was kind of pulling and I nailed it.
You did
So
some research and you nailed it.
I didn't feel good about their situation, but I felt good about the fact
Yeah.
that I sniffed that one out.
You
I
did.
could sniff that one
You
out.
did a great job.
Okay, so basically, family, with Marissa and Ramses, we don't see again a lot of them when it comes to Mexico beforehand. We do see them on like a yacht, and she's talking about being in the Navy, U.S. naval destroyer. She says that most of her friends are military. I saw the shift in his face in that moment. Maybe I was looking for it, but I saw his shift, and then they were like making out to distract from it almost.
Right.
But then as soon as they get back to DC, these conversations begin. They're talking a little bit about religion, where they're kind of, having similar energy towards, but then they start having the conversation about her military past.
Yeah.
And essentially we find out, and I had said that I thought that, again, considering what Ramses does, I'm like, he's going to be extremely progressive. That's
Right.
my guess. And we find out that Ramses essentially is like, completely anti-war and having, I mean, honestly, we'll get more into details, but honestly, what I think really important conversation on our screen, some really important like political conversations where he's talking about, U.S. imperialism and all of these things. And Marissa, simultaneously, Marissa is like, seems to be of more similar mindset like Ramses. Like, I do believe in the wrongdoings that our country has done, but she still has her military background. And again, all of her friends are in the military. So they're having this conversation, and we find out essentially Ramses is like, I'm not okay with your background at all. And if you were interested in moving forward in the military, or if you don't have shame in being part of it, I cannot be with you.
Right.
Or I would leave you, or I wouldn't be okay with you. So we find out that her being in the military is a huge issue for him, which to me is really wild that this conversation did not come up sooner. It's very wild
they
to
had
me.
that conversation about the fact she was like, I was with a Trump guy, and then I was with a non-Trump guy, and then like they kind of like touched on the like, we're not political, or like we're cool with each other.
No.
But like,
they touched on the she's not political.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, what I talked about in the last episode, he right away, when she said, I used to be with a guy who supported Trump, and he right away went, oh shit.
Right, no, he wasn't into that.
Here's my thing, is the fact that they did have they had enough conversations in the pod, but they didn't then have this level of conversation in the pod. It's one of those things where I go, listen, like I said before, when it comes to Ramses, with his background, with Christianity and hyper religious stuff and pulling away, and then everything he was sharing politically, like I'm vibing with Ramses. But where I do have to call Ramses out is it's like in the pods, you heard about Marissa.
Like, dude, she was like a 15-year veteran.
She's a vet, and she also had said that she would date people politically who had differing opinions from her, and then yet you propose to her, and you guys are, you know
all her
up,
friends are either in the military or vets,
and you guys are hooking up and doing the whole thing, and then you come back and you're like, by the way, I'm completely not okay with that.
Yeah, and like,
or I'm like, hey, this needed to have been communicated in the pods.
And she's a veteran too, so it's like, there's going to be like veteran dinners and probably ceremonies and stuff that happens, and then all her friends are like military or ex-military.
When they met with their friends,
so
all
then, like,
of them were
every
military.
wedding probably will have like uniformed people, and like, so it's so a part of her life. It's almost like if you met someone who was like 30 years a restaurateur, and you're like, by the way, I hate restaurants.
Yeah.
So you better be cool with that. And you're like, my whole world is in restaurants.
Yeah.
So it's more like politics, everything aside, it's more just like, how all of a sudden are you having this opinion and making it like a hard line when you know for a fact her whole life is based on this?
Well, my thing is,
it's just
like,
very strange to me.
What you knew before.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's where I think where I have to then be like, hey, Ramses, like, what's going on? Because listen, there are people out there who are like, I can have differing political opinions from my partner. That's not me. So for me, I completely, like, I hear Ramses
100%.
and being like, what I would be comfortable with, what I wouldn't be comfortable with. But I'm like, for a fact that you are not okay with this, with having a partner, but yet you knew that in the pods and you did propose to her. And what did you think?
And she never once said in the pods, like renouncing her whole life, so that there's at least this kind of like, well, okay, I'm Ramses, I'm willing to be with you because you're renouncing everything you've ever done.
Right.
She never said any of that. And then like from day one was kind of like, oh yeah, all my friends are still doing it. Like, it was clear that it's like she lived that life and still kind of does. So it's like, where did you think that she was just going to be not?
It's one of those things where I'm like, there's no way this is going to work, because she, like I said, she clearly seems in their conversation like she actually falls more into like progressive beliefs.
Right. 100%.
And has certain regrets and all these things, and was talking pretty openly about that. But Ramses is not, he's also then made it clear where he's like, this is how I feel and I'm not okay with this. And then when they sat with Marissa's friends, he had told them, he's like, if she were to go back, it would be automatic divorce. And then one of the friends brought up, well, what about kids?
Yeah,
and that to me was where I'm sitting there going like, okay, clearly Marissa and Ramses have crazy chemistry. We saw it, in Mexico, even back home.
Oh, yeah.
They are very attracted to each other. But at the end of the day, it's all also very apparent where he stands, where she's more like, say, I'm not okay with this, but then also still respect and support the people that all that. He's way more like, I'm not okay with this, which again, it's like, have your boundaries. 1000% support that. But then where do you think this is going to go when you have children? And like Marissa said, I want to take them on a naval ship and I want to talk to them about my service. It's like Ramses is completely anti-war. He's not going to be okay with any of that. And even if right now he's like, well, I want them to make their own choice. Eventually, like, let's be real. As parents, you're like, I'm not going to be okay with my kids participating in something that I completely don't believe in.
And he means it because his last divorce was the same.
Huh?
I think she stayed religious. He moved away from it.
Oh, yeah, true.
And then they got divorced over
true.
it. So he's not bluffing here. Like he's kind of like, I've already done this.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't get a bluff.
Which is crazy though. I gotta be honest, which is crazy for him to choose her knowing his past, which was like, we gotta be on the same page exactly.
But that's what I'm saying, like where I'm like, where I have to then say like, hey, Ramses, what's going on? It's like, regardless of, what I support certain things that he's saying, for sure.
It's just about the like.
But it's like, hey.
Didn't you know this?
You did know this in the pods. You guys talked about
so
this.
Confusing.
So what's, where are we supposed to go from there? Well, and then, so they're having these discussions with the friends alone. It seems to be festering. And by the way, he's bringing it up every time they're with the friends, with mom.
It's getting more serious.
So you can tell he's feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
But then they meet mom.
Oh my God. I mean,
Marissa's,
this is like a movie. I was like, are you a real person? Because first of all, the brothers and sisters.
Amazing.
Couldn't be more sweet,
lovely,
beautiful, kind, awesome.
Yeah.
Marissa and the brothers and sisters all seemed like this
so
wonderful
lovely.
family.
Yes.
And then out comes like the lead singer of like a goth metal band who's like pissed off. And it's like, who is this person? When
she immediately was like, yeah, your fashion is off, and immediately came for his. Huh? He's like, what? She's just like,
it's like bad looking, like 80s.
Like this whole
like
breakdancing 80s thing is just ugh.
Like, and then it doesn't stop from there. It's nothing but just like brutal insults. You better get a prenup. No one's fucking over my daughter. Everyone's like, what? Like,
I'll cut your balls
off.
So here's my thing with Marissa's mom. This is where,
to the point where even Marissa was like, I don't need your blessing.
No, this is where Marissa's mom really lost me. Okay. So when mom comes out at first, I'm like, oh God, right away, the comment about his like clothing, I was like, damn, this is brutal. But there's this part where you're like, okay, this woman has gone through hell and high water. You hear about their financial situation, and she as a single mom took care of all those kids. And you see a group of very kind, successful kids,
wildly sweet
which I feel like probably goes to show a level of how mom stepped up as a parent. So I'm processing that. So I'm going, okay, you know what? I get you're going to have someone who's like gone through hell and high water. It's single mom in it who's going to be like, I'm going to fucking bust your balls because you're not going to hurt my kid, and you better get a prenup and even though again, Marissa doesn't have any of the money yet. It's just like maybe going to be a lawyer, just going to school right now. But where she lost me was when then she started making comments about Marissa.
Yeah.
When then she's like,
a bitch.
Yeah, that's where she lost me.
By the way, I'm not going to be helping you when you got kids because my daughter's a bitch.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
you don't want me coming up. Marissa's a bitch. And then when Marissa went to the bathroom and she grabbed her and she goes, oh, I love you, baby. And I was like, there's some weird manipulation going on where you're going to like call her a bitch to her face and then like grab her and be like, baby, but I love you. And I'm like, ooh.
An absolute battle axe.
Totally.
That woman is a battle axe. Like, you just got to get out of the way.
My jaw was on the floor numerous times when she was just like, I don't fucking believe in marriage.
God,
she's just like,
I don't believe forever. 5 years, 2 months. I don't give a shit.
You just sit around and you deal with the person and then it's over. And I was like, oh,
I wonder
God.
if you wear your trauma. It was just like,
it was just one of those things where I'm like,
just like
when she was
jaded.
being super judgmental towards Ramses, I was like, I feel like you should, someone who's been through numerous relationships and had your life experience, you'd like hope that you'd be a little more.
He handled it so well. I would have snapped on her. So
shout out to Ramses.
He was just like, yeah, because she goes, oh, you're telling me about marriage? And he goes, yeah, you know. Like he handled it as good as you could. And then even later, Marissa was like, so that, how was my mom? A little tough? And she's like, oh, she's fine. And I was like,
no,
I would have been like, yo, to be honest with you, I don't know if I can be with you. That lady's crazy.
Ramses handled it like a king. And even the moment, he was so calm, cool, and collected. And then he got her. He finally got her.
Right at the
when
end.
She was kind of going off about the prenup thing and da-da-da-da. And then he's like, so he smiles and he goes, so are you giving me your blessing right now, or what is this?
Yeah.
And she cracked a smile and she almost started laughing, and he saw that he got her. And I was like, dude, shout out to him. Because he got her to crack. And so you can tell
I would have been like, nice to meet you.
You can tell her that she
Marissa,
definitely
really
was
nice
like,
meeting you.
I'm going to come for him and see how he handles it. But man, it was brutal.
Wild. She didn't care at all that she was on camera and that she was going to live in infamy.
And she was like, Marissa was like, Mom, I don't need your blessing. And the sister goes, just don't become billionaires. And then Ramses goes, billionaires are unethical. And I was like, our progressive king.
Yeah, he's letting it be known.
I love that there was numerous points during their conversations where I was like shocked that Netflix showed it, and I love that they did. When Ramses was having certain conversations, I was like, yes, these are important conversations to have, and they did not edit him.
That's true.
I loved that. But what I did not love.
This was a brutal way to end
and
it.
it killed me, because I was like, Ramses, our progressive king. And then I was like, not so.
I don't like condoms. Doesn't feel good.
Not so progressive when it comes to women's birth control, Ramses. What the hell, dude?
He literally became like frat bro.
I was like,
out of nowhere, he was just like, yo, I don't go on, I don't care if you feel sick, go on that shit because I don't like condoms, bro. And then she's like,
we find out that
I'm willing to
Marissa-
do all these other things for you. I just, we find out
Marissa doesn't want to go on birth control.
Yeah.
And Ramses is like, and she's like, yeah, what about, I guess we'll do condoms. And he goes, no, doesn't feel good.
And he's like, this might be a real problem because sex feeling good to me is very important to our relationship. So we'll have to figure something out because this whole condom thing might be the end of us. So you either have kids or you go on birth control. Like that's his two options.
But he doesn't want to have kids right now. So then you're basically being like,
yeah,
you will go on birth control.
Bro thing, like this bro, like, dude, get over it. It doesn't feel good on my penis.
Evan.
Like that was crazy when he did that.
No. I can't tell you the shock I felt.
Who are you?
From him.
Yeah.
The last person.
I know.
I'm like, she brought
That's a Steven move.
It's a totally a Steven move. Yeah. She brought a birth control, and I literally go, Ramses is going to be like the one guy we've seen who's going to be like your body, your choice, 100%. Like, I'll be wearing the condom so that we will continue to have sex together. Like, he was the guy that I had immovable. I had faith in with that part where I was like, he will at least.
Because I even think she said something to the fact of like, well, we can work on our pullout game, and he's like, no.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
I think it was something like that. So
I think
he's like immovable on it. I think he's literally like, I want to do what I want to do, and you better like make it happen.
It's not enjoyable, baby. He's like, you like condom sex? She's like, yeah. He's like,
and then she kind of got him. She's like, some of the best sex I ever had was condom sex. He's like,
I love that she did that. That was a great zinger. She's like, just FYI, some of the best sex I've had.
I can zing you back.
But then when he's like, sex should be mutually enjoyable, he's like, that's just not something that guys ever have the pressure of having to think about. And I'm like, what?
What does that even mean?
You better damn be thinking about it. What's our responsibility as a woman to shove birth control down our throats?
What's weird is like he's willing to have her be uncomfortable. Exactly. That's the thing. So it's not like oh, I'm willing for you to change your chemistry and be uncomfortable on birth control. I'm not willing to be uncomfortable by not liking the feeling. It's not like she's like, you go on a pill.
Yeah.
It was like, I just don't like the way it feels. It was reductive.
The way that conversation ended, she was like, well, there's going to be pressure because I'm not going on birth control.
I love that she's so sweet, but then she'll like lock in.
No, but I loved that she put her foot down.
That's what I'm saying. She can be like so sweet, so you got to chill in it, and then all of a sudden we'll just be like immovable object.
And I loved that she was like, yes. I'm not going on birth control.
I loved it. It was awesome.
And then he said, sounds good, but I need the sex to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Evan, I couldn't believe it.
Weird. It was really like
I couldn't believe it.
Old school.
Again, of all people, it was
vibes.
So old school. It was just
it really fucked up my vibe with him.
Me too.
I was kind of like, maybe you aren't what you thought we are. A little energy.
I know. It really fucked up my vibe. And then in the upcoming episodes, the clips that we saw was him still talking about sex.
Basically being like, we've tried it now a couple times and it's not working for me.
It's not going to work for me.
Wild.
So we'll see with those two, but I just don't think that there's any way.
Yeah.
Like they might get to the altar and they might say I do, but I'm sorry. If they do, just with where everyone stands, I just don't see how they could stay married.
Not looking good.
I just don't. Yeah. All right. On to Alex and Tim. Another couple that we didn't see a ton of these last 3 episodes, but we do see is that he does come back in Mexico.
Yeah.
They had their huge argument, which was not good.
Yeah, not good.
But he ended up deciding that he was going to come back and start anew. Now, during those moments, it didn't feel like a lot of passion where I was like, he came back and it wasn't like, oh, he's back.
No.
So I'm like, I don't know what vibe this is happening. But
a very apathetic vibe.
But I'm going to tell you what, Evan, I like, after seeing what we saw with their argument in Mexico, and then we also see a preview of them starting to argue in these upcoming episodes. But specifically after seeing what we saw in Mexico, I will obviously stand firm and say, I do not think these two people should be together.
Yeah.
What happened was clearly very toxic. Okay. But what happened in these few episodes was like the pause all over again. These two go up and down because what we saw in this episode was when Tim met Alex's family.
Right.
Do I think these two should be together? No. Was I bawling my eyes out when he met her family?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was...
But I think it has nothing to do with their relationship. That's my thing. Is like to quickly just gloss over the family thing was amazing. Dad, the tears, the connection they had, the fact that there's like all this, like his dad was in the military and lived here, and then he was in the military, lived there. They had all this crazy in
St.
common,
Andrews,
all
golf,
that stuff.
yeah,
but again, it had nothing to do with her. It just had to do with the fact that he was like a really good mold for the family. He also
was very much like her dad.
He also was really connected or put on the performance of a lifetime in that like they were both like really connecting, and like he was very kind and sweet to the family, and he was crushed the family. It was 10 out of 10.
He was such a gentleman,
right?
And so thoughtful with everything he said, and so present.
No, it was the introduction to a family of a lifetime.
It was a
you
10
could
out of
not
10.
have done it better.
And then when she was like, by the way, my dad doesn't even know I was on the show.
Right.
He doesn't trip out about it. He pulls the dad aside. He reads the letter that he wrote to Alex.
Yeah.
Dad's sobbing, is like, you are part of our family. I'm like dry heaving crying.
Right. But it again had nothing to do with them for me. It was he just came in and crushed it.
Yeah.
But then personally, I think she's got some stuff that she needs to work through. Something about her, there's like a sadness to her to where it's like, you even see in the preview where like, he's like, my parents drove 10 hours and you just went to bed like in the middle of dinner, basically. Yeah. She's not connecting with him really. They don't seem to be really there all the way. I don't know. She just seems kind of like there's a cloud and something's going on there. Yeah. And
I don't know. I think
I'm not seeing the connection.
I think that they both like we talked about during their argument, like he clearly has his like very like his like almost rules of how it's got to go.
Right.
But then she was like covering his mouth, calling him names, and then being like we see the preview with her not showing up, like you said, for the family, and kind of like in Mexico where she was like, I'm going to bed, I want to go home.
Right. Something's going on there.
There's stuff going on, but I'm just going to tell you, like, these episodes, at least from what they showed us, maybe they're holding off and then they're going to show us all this drama next episode or next series of episodes. But even when they went to his home, which by the way, his home, gorgeous. Like not only was his home super neat, it was decorated really well. He had gorgeous.
You're talking about Tim's house?
Yes.
No, Tim's house was like, baby, he had like gas masks and like brown recliner.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, it was hideous. Now, was it clean? Yes. Was it the worst decoration you could ever have?
No.
Yes.
Okay. No, this is where I'm going to this is where I'm going to argue with you.
It looked like a bachelor pad from 1992.
Did I like the decorations? No. But how often do you see a man who you walk into the home and it actually has a theme and decorations. Never. Most guys, you walk into the house
guess.
and you're like, there's no fucking bed.
mattress on the
there's
floor
there's
energy.
no bed frame. There's no curtains, no rug. It's just basically like frat, whatever.
It was a military bunker, but that was that. It was like brown and green.
But I'm saying, but you walked in, he had beautiful light fixtures.
Sure,
he had
sure.
matching couches, beautiful
Right.
like colors on the walls.
Yeah.
He had like really taken time to
Right.
like have his house be his
Sure,
home.
no, you're absolutely right. He
And then
did.
when he went to her house, and her house is very relatable to me.
It was just literally trash bags, like the whole house was in trash
But
bags.
I felt very like, you know, I felt like I was walking into the room energy.
But it was interesting what she said. She said, like, I felt very comforted getting back into my place, even though it was like something about like hoarding energy. She was kind of like,
But it's her place.
She was kind of like, I like it.
Now, she said that she had been packing and she left, which could be the case, and no one went back and like cleaned. But listen, I can't sit here and talk shit.
Yeah.
You've seen the room. I've got trash bags and I've got clothes everywhere.
Yeah.
But after seeing his place, I thought he was going to go to her place and be super judgmental, and he didn't give her a hard time.
yeah.
And she felt comfortable with him seeing it, and she's like, yeah, well, this is it.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of laughing. He goes, it's all good. Like,
Yeah.
we'll stay at my place. He wasn't like, oh, red flag that you're this way,
Right.
whatever. I feel like in the past, we've seen all these Love is Blind couples. They see someone who's clean, see someone's messy,
Sure.
messy's house who is that is messy. Wow, I can't get that out. And they are like, yikes.
Yeah.
He was totally fine. So I'm just saying, their relationship is such a head scratcher for me because they're so up and down, and they'll be good and fine. Not a lot of passion there though,
No, it's
but
kinda
they're
a
like
bummer.
good and fine roommates energy. But then when they're getting into these fights, clearly it's a big thing.
Yeah. And she kind of like always, she's kind of doing the Hannah thing too, where she's kind of like, your style's horrible and you're
Yes.
this and you're that and
Yes,
you're
yes,
awful
yes.
and you're cringe and you're annoying. And he's kind of like, laughs it off.
No,
Doesn't make
it's
me
not
feel
it.
good.
But I will tell you, man, the meeting of her family,
No, yeah, it was
her
he killed
dad,
it. He killed it.
like welcoming him in and
Yeah,
crying. It was
powerful.
just like, and mom was just like, he is a mate. Like, whew. And her brothers were lovely too. Her family was beautiful.
Yeah.
What a lovely family.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't have high hopes for them, especially with the previews. But the one couple that seems to be doing very, very well,
No
we'll
issues.
go over them quick, is Taylor and Garrett. Obviously, last episode, I brought up a few of my concerns where I was like, I don't know if he's in. I don't know about him, because I'm literally obsessed with Taylor, and I'm like, you don't deserve her, Garrett.
Right.
She is my queen. She is the ultimate. And I've got question marks with you. Well, at least in these 3 episodes, he seems to be full foot on the gas, like give it
Yeah.
all. And
The only thing is that she kind of pulled a fast one with a technicality of her working a lot in DC and living in San Diego.
what do you mean?
Well, like the whole
They
thing.
talked about it in the pods.
Right,
though.
but the whole thing is like, I live in DC. Everyone lives in DC to make this show work.
Sure.
But she's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit of like like you kind of didn't play by the rules because you're kind
Yeah.
of like, now
But she
he
does.
has
She does
to.
live in. She has a place in DC.
I know, but it's more for work. And more what I'm saying is like, for him now, it's a little bit like the whole point of the show was to avoid this problem, which is they're perfect for each other. They love each other. They're perfectly meant. Everything's perfect except for the fact that she wants to live and raise kids in San Diego, and his whole family's in
look at my
DC. So it's a
hand.
little like, ooh.
Look into my hand. If you say anything negative about Taylor,
No, it's not
I
negative. It's
swear to
more
God.
like it's more like that's the only kind of interesting little thing
Yeah.
where it's like technically she lives a lot there, but she doesn't want to live there and it just works there.
But what I'm
So it's
saying
a
is, but
little
that's
like-
been communicated with them from the start.
No, I know. I'm just saying
So
like
it was like he proposed to her knowing where she wanted to be.
100%. I'm not saying that. I'm more saying like the show was designed to not have this be a problem. So it's interesting.
Your technicalities mean nothing to me.
No, she's the best ever. She's amazing.
She's maybe my favorite person that's
Oh
ever
my
been on
God,
this show.
she's amazing.
I'm obsessed with her. They
Absolutely.
were making me laugh when they were going through like revealing the Instagrams. He's like, you're gonna get
Yeah.
the ick, and his Instagram is just all
spearfishing,
fish,
yeah.
which was absolutely wild. But it's all going great, right? Yes, there's conversations about San Diego. He's a little bit at first like, but then he's like, I'm just gonna fully give in
He's
and
like, I'm
let's
willing to
do
sell
it.
portions of my companies to do it. Like all
He's
in.
full, and I was shocked because I didn't think he was going to be, but he was fully on. And we meet her Friends, of course I love her friends because I love her. Her friends seemed absolutely wonderful. They're like, we've never seen Taylor like this before. What have you done
They
with
were
her?
like, huh? Yeah,
She's
it was awesome.
absolutely over the moon.
It's the best thing you could ever hear.
Yes.
When you're a new person and they're like, oh,
She's
never seen
super
him like this
turned
with
on
you.
by the fact of how he handled Steven, how he called him out, and he was there
Yeah.
for Monica. Everything is like going well, going well. The only potential hiccup that we might have is when we meet Garrett's family. Garrett's family does not want this to happen.
Right. They're a little bit like, okay.
And, listen, I'm not going to...
Understandable.
I get it. You're like, what is happening right now? But their mom is like tears in the eyes being like, don't do this.
Yeah.
And sister, even at one point, looks at Taylor and is like, but like, how do you feel? How is this going to work when your parents refuse to be on camera? And I was a little bit like, shut up, sister. Like, what are you doing this in front of the camera for? Putting Taylor on the spot. So we find out that Taylor's parents don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
Now, Garrett is going to go to San Diego and meet all of them. We just won't see it on camera, which was lovely. But Taylor said they're fully supportive. They just don't want to be on camera.
Totally understandable.
Completely understandable.
Like, I'm not getting anything out of this.
Yeah.
Other
Like,
than
what?
maybe I look bad.
Yeah. I'm getting nothing
Like,
from this.
the worst case scenario is so much better. Like, there's no best case here.
No, I would absolutely be like, I don't want to do this.
No.
Like, are you kidding me? No. But her parents are pretty like, Taylor comes out and is just a queen. Raves about how much she cares about Garrett. Garrett does simultaneously talk about like how much she means to him, and both of them show the parents like, this is everything to us and we understand why you're concerned, but like, we're over the moon about each other. And parents don't really budge. Parents are like, but like, this is way too fast. And then we find out later when Garrett and Taylor are at dinner, he's like, listen, I haven't wanted to say certain things to you so that you don't get insecure, but like, basically my family's blowing me up and being like, don't do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, a person with lesser confidence or whatever couldn't handle that, but you've handled it. And just shout out to her, because she's like, I completely understand why your family's struggling. I don't want them to ever feel uncomfortable. I never want them to feel like I'm taking you away. Like, make sure they're comfortable too. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
If I were Taylor, I'm not going to lie, I would be tweaked.
Right.
Even though in the back of my head, I get why parents and families would be weirded out by this, I'm still getting my feelings hurt. To hear that your parents are emailing you about me and not like, don't be with her after meeting me, my feelings would be so hurt.
Yeah, she handled it. So she's like, you guys have every right to kind of have these behind closed doors conversations about me and that I don't need to know it. I'm just like, holy moly. I'd be like, really sweet and also just understanding, logical. I mean, she's still the total package.
She's a total. And I finally figured it out. I saw someone say she looks like Olivia Munn. I'm like, that's who it is.
Oh, big time.
She looks so much like Olivia Munn.
So much like her, yeah.
So I'm like, family, I'm never going to get over it. Like, this smart of a woman, this funny of a woman, absolute stunner.
Yeah.
Whomst is she? She deserves the world. And Garrett, I was saying,
don't fumble the bag,
do
over
not,
what your parents think.
Do not fumble the bag with this woman. She is a queen.
Yeah.
But everything looks good.
Yeah.
But then we get a preview for next episode where he's talking to an ex-girlfriend.
Something's going on.
And he's like not showing her his phone. And she's like, the red flags are red flagging. And this might be the end for them.
I hope not, but yeah.
Well, we know that it's not technically the end because in the preview, just wanted to note the one couple we saw who's in the wedding regalia walking down the aisle was Taylor and Garrett. Will they say yes at the altar? Who knows? We didn't see anybody else. So I'm going, are they keeping it quiet?
Right. Are they trying
or
to...
are Garrett and Taylor the only people who make it to wedding day?
We'll see.
I think they're the only people who make it to wedding day.
I do hope Nick and Hannah do it just because something about it. I just really want to see it happen.
Also, before we wrap, I have to tell you all, watching this season with some of these characters who are the absolute worst, I'm like, who cast these people? And I was just, grumbling, who the hell cast these people? And I saw a comment somewhere. I don't know if it was on a YouTube video or on Twitter. I'm so sorry. And I don't have the person who said it's whose name because I saw a random comment and I was dying. Someone said, if you have a problem with the people on this season, remember who cast this season. Chelsea.
Oh, yeah.
And I was crying, laughing. Family, remember?
Oh, wow.
Last reunion, we saw Chelsea of Kwame and Chelsea get a job as the casting director of Love is Blind. So these were the people who Chelsea has chosen to represent DC.
Wow. And Chelsea's absolutely off a rocker, so that's perfect.
So you're like, it all kind of makes sense.
I gotta
now.
say though, yeah, she did a good job if Chaos is her lover.
Yes, but also Chaos, but also no.
Oh.
Because like, I'm gonna be real with you. I really like Taylor and I really like Ashley, but like the cast isn't super likable.
No. Well, Chelsea's not likable either, so maybe she's like finding people like herself. No offense. All right.
Well, family, we love you all.
Love you all.
So here's the tea. Here's the 411. We have the Bachelor recap, Golden Bachelorette coming out on Friday, but we will not have an episode of Love is Blind next Tuesday. We will have one the following Tuesday. So not next Tuesday, but the week after, we'll be covering the final 3 episodes. It won't include the reunion. That comes a little bit later.
Yeah.
But we'll be recapping the remainder of the episodes, including the finale. That won't be next week. That will be the following Tuesday. But stay tuned on Friday when we talk Golden Bachelorette. But we love you all, and we'll see you in a couple days.
See ya. Love ya.
Bye.
Bye. Mwah.